I never thought my own son would turn against me," Margaret whispered to herself as she stepped onto the sun-warmed deck of her beach house, the salty breeze brushing her silver hair, the waves crashing gently below, setting a peaceful rhythm that sharply contrasted with the unease growing in her chest. She had looked forward to this summer for months, imagining quiet mornings with coffee and the sound of seagulls. But today, as David and Emily drove up the driveway with their perfect smiles and overpacked SUV, a sense of tension lingered in the air. Margaret welcomed them warmly, hugging her daughter-in-law and patting David on the back. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The way Emily's eyes darted toward the house, the casual glances exchanged between the young couple hinted at plans Margaret wasn't privy to. They spent the afternoon unpacking, laughing at inside jokes Margaret didn't fully understand, while she prepared light snacks and fresh lemonade, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy. Every detail of the house reminded her of years of love and care she had poured into it. She noticed subtle changes that Emily made as she rearranged items in the living room. A small touch here, a slight repositioning there, each move feeling like a claim on her space. Margaret kept her expression calm, not letting her suspicions show. She chatted about the weather, reminisced about past summers, all the while observing quietly, noting the whispers, the glances, the slight hesitations. She overheard Emily suggesting to David that certain rooms could be better utilized, and though their words were casual, Margaret's intuition screamed that they were plotting. The realization settled in her chest, heavy and sharp, that perhaps her beach house, her sanctuary, was in jeopardy. She refused to panic. Instead, she drew a slow breath, reminding herself that patience and cleverness were her allies. She could see the schemes forming like shadows beneath the sunny exterior. Margaret decided to play along, offering smiles and agreeing to small requests, all while her mind raced to consider how she would turn the tables. The sun began to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky with golds and pinks, the perfect backdrop for a confrontation that Margaret knew would come. She poured another glass of lemonade and took a deliberate sip, savoring the calm before the storm. Every moment became a part of her plan, a piece of the strategy she was forming in silence, knowing that the real battle for her home and dignity would unfold in the days ahead. And as the first stars began to glimmer over the ocean, Margaret allowed herself a small, knowing smile, confident that she would not only protect her beach house but teach David and Emily a lesson they would never forget. As the evening settled over the beach house, Margaret moved through the rooms with quiet precision, arranging fresh flowers and setting out snacks in a way that invited comfort and warmth. She noticed how David lingered near the living room windows, speaking in hushed tones with Emily, and though their words were muffled, the intent behind them was unmistakable. It was a delicate dance of subtle manipulations, yet Margaret remained composed, smiling and asking them about their plans for the day, carefully drawing out information while never revealing the depth of her understanding. She listened intently as they casually mentioned hosting a small gathering, seemingly innocent. Yet Margaret could sense the underlying strategy to assert more control over her space. She poured herself a glass of iced tea and joined them at the kitchen island, laughing lightly at Emily's jokes while mentally cataloging each move. Every detail became part of her mental map, the placement of furniture, the timing of their statements, the way they subtly suggested changes. Margaret knew that patience and observation would be her greatest allies in the days ahead. She spent the rest of the afternoon walking along the beach, her sandals sinking into the warm sand as she watched the waves, reflecting on the history of her family and the traditions she had upheld for decades. She thought about how the house had been a place of joy, a sanctuary of summer memories, and she could not allow it to be taken from her without a fight of wits and clever planning. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, she returned to the house and noticed David and Emily preparing for their small gathering, moving items and arranging furniture in ways that emphasized their perceived ownership. Margaret greeted each guest with warmth and charm, yet her mind was working tirelessly, calculating how she could gently reveal the truth about the intentions without confrontation, turning every gesture into a potential revelation, every conversation into a mirror reflecting their ambitions. She served drinks and appetizers with a calm smile, carefully observing interactions, noting expressions and subtle cues. She saw how quickly some guests became intrigued by Emily's orchestrations and began to question the sudden shifts in the household atmosphere. Margaret subtly guided conversations to uncover more without suspicion, all the while maintaining the appearance of a gracious hostess. By the time the gathering reached its peak, Margaret had amassed enough insight to plan her next move, a quiet yet powerful strategy that would ensure her position remained secure. She found a moment to step outside, feeling the cool evening breeze and listening to the ocean, reaffirming her resolve, knowing that intelligence, patience, and composure would allow her to navigate this challenge successfully. And as she returned to the gathering, her smile never wavered, the gleam in her eyes hinting at the careful orchestration behind her calm exterior, ready to reveal just enough to shift the balance without causing unnecessary conflict. Keeping everyone on edge and anticipating the subtle twists Margaret was preparing to unveil. As the next morning dawned over the beach house, Margaret awoke early, the sun casting a warm glow across the sand and ocean. She brewed a fresh pot of coffee and carried it out to the deck, inhaling the salty air while planning her day. She watched David and Emily move about the house, making subtle adjustments to furniture and decorations, each action reinforcing her suspicion that they were testing boundaries and asserting influence over her home. Margaret greeted them with her usual warmth and asked about their plans for breakfast and the day ahead. Observing closely their reactions and body language, she suggested a few family activities along the shoreline, all while noting how quickly David tried to divert attention and Emily subtly guided conversations toward topics that positioned them as decision-makers. Margaret smiled politely, offering gentle counter-suggestions and anecdotes from past summers, her voice calm, yet filled with a quiet authority. As the morning progressed, she led a walk along the beach, gathering seashells and discussing family memories, weaving in stories that reminded everyone of the history and love built into the house. She noticed how David and Emily shared fleeting glances, perhaps acknowledging her subtle reminders of the house's legacy. Margaret maintained a delicate balance of hospitality and observation, ensuring every interaction reinforced her presence and influence. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, she prepared a light lunch, inviting neighbors and longtime friends to join in, creating a casual gathering that would naturally reveal intentions and character without direct confrontation. Throughout the meal, Margaret asked questions that prompted honest responses, and through careful listening, she gleaned insights into the subtle dynamics between her son and daughter-in-law. She smiled at comments and gestures, all while mentally noting each nuance that could aid her in guiding the situation toward fairness and respect. The sound of the waves crashing and children laughing on the shore provided a serene backdrop. Contrasting with the undercurrent of tension, Margaret used this to her advantage, allowing the setting to soften the atmosphere while she retained full awareness of her surroundings. She suggested a friendly game of beach volleyball, observing how David and Emily interacted with other guests, noting attempts at control or influence. Yet Margaret subtly intervened with light humor and encouragement, keeping the focus on shared enjoyment and family unity. As the day came to a close, she reflected on her observations and formulated her next steps, confident that through patience, subtle guidance, and clear demonstration of wisdom, she could maintain her home and family relationships, setting the stage for the next chapter of their story where intentions would become clearer and the balance of respect and understanding would be restored. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the sand, and Margaret moved through her beach house with quiet confidence, noting how the gentle waves outside contrasted with the subtle tensions inside. She prepared a small tea setup on the deck, inviting David, Emily, and a few nearby friends to join in a casual gathering that would feel entirely natural. As they sat together, Margaret engaged in light conversation, steering topics gently toward memories of previous summers, family traditions, and the history of the beach house. Each story a reminder of the love and care she had poured into the home over decades. She observed David and Emily carefully, noting the micro-expressions and fleeting gestures that hinted at their intentions. She offered small tasks and subtle choices to them, watching how they responded, measuring patience and humility. Margaret encouraged the children to play near the shoreline, allowing moments of laughter and joy to balance the underlying tension. She complimented Emily on her attentiveness while sharing anecdotes that gently reinforced her own role as the matriarch. During the gathering, Margaret asked seemingly casual questions about future plans, subtly uncovering how far their ambitions extended. She smiled at their answers, noting discrepancies between words and behavior, and allowed each guest to share experiences and opinions. Observing reactions and alliances forming naturally, she maintained the tone of gracious hospitality while quietly strengthening her own awareness of the dynamics. The golden light of sunset filled the room, highlighting every interaction. She suggested a walk along the boardwalk for those interested. Observing how David and Emily maneuvered social interactions, testing boundaries without overstepping, Margaret used each observation to refine her approach. Knowing that understanding motives and relationships was the key to maintaining harmony and control, as the sky deepened into rich hues, she returned inside to prepare a light snack and fresh lemonade, her calm demeanor masking the strategic thinking at work. Each movement and conversation became part of her subtle orchestration. She ensured that the ambience remained warm and welcoming, giving no reason for suspicion. Yet every guest could sense the depth of her experience and quiet authority. By the time the evening ended, Margaret had a clear picture of intentions, alliances, and ambitions within the family, allowing her to plan the next steps carefully, ensuring that her presence, wisdom, and stewardship of the beach house remained unchallenged. And as she watched the last of the guests depart, the stars beginning to sparkle over the ocean, Margaret felt a sense of satisfaction, knowing that patience, observation, and gentle guidance had kept the balance intact while setting the stage for the coming days where clarity, respect, and insight would reveal themselves fully. The morning light spilled gently into the beach house, painting the walls with soft gold hues. Margaret moved quietly through the rooms, tidying and preparing breakfast while keeping an eye on David and Emily. She served pancakes and fresh orange juice, observing how each of them navigated the space. Noting the subtle ways Emily tried to influence decisions and David hesitated when faced with choices that required tact or understanding. Margaret maintained her warmth and patience, engaging in light conversation about family plans, memories, and local events, while subtly reinforcing the importance of the beach house as a space built on years of love and care. She invited them to share ideas about the day, carefully listening to gauge intentions and sincerity. As they suggested activities and minor rearrangements, Margaret nodded thoughtfully, offering gentle alternatives and reminders of past summers. Allowing her to assert presence without confrontation, she suggested a casual walk along the shore, using the opportunity to observe their interactions with other family members and neighbors. Noting how quickly Emily attempted to take initiative and how David followed her lead, Margaret encouraged spontaneous moments of joy and laughter, letting children play freely, creating a sense of natural family bonding. While mentally recording subtle hints of ambition and control, she guided conversations toward reflection and shared stories, making sure everyone felt included and heard. Margaret's calm demeanor and strategic attentiveness created an atmosphere where honesty surfaced naturally. She watched how gestures and choices revealed character, noting where influence and intentions aligned or conflicted. By mid-afternoon, she organized a small art activity, using seashells and sand to encourage creativity, subtly incorporating memories and lessons about family history and values. She observed attentively how David and Emily responded, who followed instructions and who attempted to redirect focus. Margaret maintained a delicate balance of encouragement and observation, never revealing full awareness of the undercurrents at play. As the sun began to lower toward the horizon, she prepared a light picnic to be enjoyed on the deck, offering guests fresh lemonade and snacks, all the while using moments of conversation and shared enjoyment to subtly illuminate her role as caretaker and guide. Her patience and quiet intelligence allowed her to maintain control without overt authority, ensuring that the integrity of her home and family legacy remained intact. As evening approached and the sky turned warm with sunset colors, Margaret reflected on the day's observations, confident in her ability to handle any unfolding situation with composure and tact, knowing that her presence, wisdom, and subtle guidance would secure respect and understanding. Keeping the family dynamic balanced while setting the stage for the revelations and clarity that would emerge in the days ahead. Margaret awoke to the gentle sound of waves lapping against the shore, the morning sun reflecting off the ocean and casting a golden glow through the windows of her beach house. She brewed a fresh cup of coffee and carried it to the deck, enjoying a few quiet moments alone before the household stirred. As David and Emily emerged for breakfast, Margaret greeted them warmly. Noting the subtle tension in their body language and the careful choice of words that betrayed their underlying intentions, she engaged them in conversation about plans for the day, suggesting a nature walk along the nearby cliffs and a picnic by the tide pools. All while observing how they reacted to her guidance, she offered gentle reminders of family traditions and previous summer adventures, reinforcing her role as the keeper of memories and values. During the walk, Margaret allowed the children to explore freely, creating laughter and a sense of freedom that contrasted with the quiet scrutiny of the adults. She listened to David and Emily talk among themselves, quietly analyzing their ambitions and the ways they subtly attempted to influence the group. Margaret responded with calm insight, sharing stories that highlighted respect, patience, and the importance of considering the feelings of others. She encouraged reflection and open communication, steering conversations in a way that revealed intentions without confrontation. The natural beauty of the cliffs and ocean served as a backdrop to her gentle strategy. As they settled at the tide pools for a light picnic, Margaret carefully orchestrated moments that would illuminate honesty and cooperation, subtly acknowledging actions that aligned with integrity and gently highlighting choices that demonstrated impatience or self-interest. She maintained a composed and graceful demeanor, ensuring that her presence was felt as guiding rather than controlling. As the afternoon progressed, she led the family back to the beach house, observing how David and Emily interacted with the environment and with her, noting where they showed consideration and where they attempted to assert control. Margaret used these insights to plan small, subtle interventions that reinforced the harmony of the household and the respect for her home. By the time the sun began to dip toward the horizon, Margaret had cultivated a clear understanding of the dynamics at play, confident in her ability to navigate future interactions with intelligence and tact. She arranged a casual evening gathering on the deck, inviting neighbors and friends, using their presence to naturally highlight values of community, respect, and shared enjoyment. Each interaction became an opportunity to demonstrate poise and insight, setting the stage for further revelations and ensuring that the balance of trust, respect, and family legacy remained firmly in her hands. And as night fell and stars appeared over the ocean, Margaret reflected on the subtle orchestration of the day, satisfied that her patience and careful observation had strengthened her position while preparing for the days ahead when clarity and understanding would continue to unfold. Margaret woke to the soft glow of early morning sunlight streaming through the windows of her beach house, carrying a sense of calm determination as she moved through the rooms, brewing a fresh pot of coffee and arranging a small breakfast tray for herself. She watched as David and Emily emerged from their rooms, their expressions polite yet measured. She greeted them warmly, engaging in light conversation about the weather and local events while carefully observing their body language and tone, every word and gesture offering subtle insight into their intentions. As they sat down for breakfast, Margaret suggested a morning stroll along the nearby dunes, allowing the children to explore freely while maintaining a close eye on the adults. During the walk, she listened intently as David and Emily spoke quietly together, noting the slight shifts in tone and emphasis that betrayed ambition and subtle manipulation. She responded with calm anecdotes from past summers and gentle reminders of the home's history, weaving lessons of respect, patience, and shared joy into her narratives, each moment designed to reinforce her presence as the matriarch without overt assertion. After returning to the house, Margaret proposed a casual game on the lawn, encouraging collaboration and observation, noting how each participant engaged with others, identifying tendencies toward dominance or subtle persuasion. She maintained an air of relaxed authority, smiling at successes and offering guidance on missteps with warmth and tact. Throughout the afternoon, Margaret orchestrated a series of small, seemingly innocuous tasks and conversations, each one serving to reveal character and intentions while strengthening the bonds of trust and respect among those present. She carefully balanced her interventions with moments of levity and shared enjoyment, allowing David and Emily to feel included while subtly demonstrating the wisdom and experience that guided her decisions. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the sand, Margaret organized a light refreshment on the deck, inviting friends and neighbors, creating a setting where observation and gentle guidance could continue in a natural, communal environment. She watched the interactions closely, noting how gestures and responses aligned with or diverged from her expectations. And as evening approached, she reflected on the day's insights, confident that her patience, careful attention, and strategic facilitation had strengthened her role within the family, preserved the harmony of her home, and positioned her to navigate the unfolding days with composure, insight, and quiet authority, ensuring that her presence, knowledge, and guidance continued to influence the dynamics while preparing for moments when clarity and understanding would naturally reveal the depth of intentions among her family members. Margaret woke to the gentle sound of seagulls and the rhythm of the waves outside her beach house. Carrying a renewed sense of determination as she planned her day, she prepared a light breakfast of fresh fruit and toast, arranging it carefully on the deck where the morning sun illuminated the sand and ocean. David and Emily joined her shortly after, exchanging polite greetings while their subtle tensions were noticeable. Margaret engaged them in conversation about the local market and nearby attractions, using the opportunity to observe their intentions and measure their patience and cooperation. She suggested a morning swim followed by a walk along the tide pools, allowing the children to explore and play freely, fostering laughter and lighthearted interactions while keeping an attentive eye on the adults. During the walk, she encouraged discussions about favorite summer memories and traditions, gently guiding the conversation to highlight the values of respect, family, and shared experiences, noting how David responded to subtle reminders and how Emily attempted to steer decisions toward her preferences. Margaret offered quiet insights and encouragement, reinforcing positive behaviors and subtly correcting missteps without confrontation. The family returned to the house for a casual lunch, where Margaret continued to orchestrate the environment to naturally reveal intentions and character. Engaging each guest with warmth and attentiveness, she used the relaxed atmosphere to subtly challenge assumptions and gently encourage reflection, all while maintaining her calm and gracious presence. In the afternoon, she proposed a creative activity on the deck using seashells and natural materials collected along the beach, encouraging collaboration and observation, noting how each participant navigated the task and interacted with others. Margaret smiled at moments of cooperation and quietly noted areas where self-interest emerged. She maintained an air of composure and gentle authority, allowing the setting and shared experiences to naturally convey lessons in respect and understanding. As the sun began to descend, painting the sky with soft orange and pink hues, she invited neighbors and close friends for a small evening gathering on the deck, providing refreshments and light snacks, carefully observing interactions and guiding conversations with subtle questions that revealed intentions and strengthened bonds. Margaret used her insights to create opportunities for reflection and growth, ensuring that her home remained a place of harmony and respect. And as night fell, the ocean sparkling under the moonlight, she reflected on the day, confident that her patient observation, strategic guidance, and calm presence had preserved the integrity of her home and family, positioning her to continue navigating future challenges with intelligence, insight, and quiet authority while preparing for moments when clarity and understanding would naturally unfold. The day began with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of salt and sea through the open windows of Margaret's beach house. She moved with purpose, setting out breakfast for the family and quietly observing the interactions between David and Emily as they prepared for the day, each exchange filled with subtle gestures and unspoken intentions. Margaret greeted them warmly, discussing plans for a morning walk along the shoreline and suggesting activities that would encourage cooperation and observation. She allowed the children to explore freely, their laughter mixing with the sound of waves, creating an atmosphere of joy that masked the underlying tension. During the walk, Margaret prompted conversations about family history and past summer adventures, weaving lessons of patience, respect, and consideration into the dialogue, noting how David responded to gentle reminders of responsibility and how Emily attempted to subtly influence decisions. She smiled with quiet authority, guiding the day with a balance of warmth and strategic insight. Upon returning to the house, she suggested a creative project using driftwood and shells collected along the beach, encouraging teamwork and observation. Observing each person's approach to collaboration, she noted moments of initiative and subtle attempts to assert control, responding with encouragement and gentle corrections as needed, maintaining a calm and composed demeanor throughout. The afternoon unfolded with casual tasks, conversations, and light activity that allowed Margaret to observe patterns of behavior while reinforcing her role as matriarch. She subtly directed interactions to highlight integrity and honesty while allowing natural discovery of character and intentions. As the sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow over the deck, she organized a small gathering of neighbors and friends, providing refreshments and encouraging storytelling that revealed personality and motives without confrontation. She guided discussions with careful questions and shared memories, reinforcing the values of family and home. As evening approached and the sky was painted with oranges and pinks, Margaret reflected on the day's observations, feeling confident that her patient guidance and strategic awareness had maintained harmony, strengthened respect, and preserved her position within the family, ensuring that her home remained a place of stability, understanding, and insight, ready for the unfolding days ahead where clarity, loyalty, and true intentions would be revealed naturally, allowing Margaret to continue navigating the delicate dynamics with intelligence, grace, and quiet authority while subtly steering the family toward recognition of the values she had long upheld.